This is Our Side of Addiction, the podcast. I'm Amanda Bork. Let's go. Well, hello there. It's a pleasure to see you once again. Another day, another episode. We are going to be looking at the topic of enabling, more specifically, what impact it has on our relationships and how it impacts recovery just in general. I love the topic enabling simply because a lot of us loved ones of addicts tend to default toward enabling, either full on or kind of swayed in that direction. It's rooted in fear. We think we're doing it out of love, but we're actually doing it out of self-preservation. And because there's this huge disconnect between what we think we're doing versus what we're actually doing, and this desperation to cling on to this strategy, those are reasons why I love the topic. Clearly, we need to discuss it more for us, the loved ones. Clearly, we need a little bit more understanding and self-awareness, which is why I think it's an amazing topic. It's also a little bit triggering, which adds to the reason why I kind of like it. I like pissing people off. I like it. I like ruffling your feathers. I like irritating you because that means I'm in your head. That means I'm poking a soft spot. Okay. We are a little bit defensive over it for those reasons where it's self-preservation. We think we're doing a good thing, but also enabling occurs when there's dysfunction in the family or in the relationship. No one wants to admit that they're being dysfunctional. And my opinion is that adds to why it's so triggering. As you know, enabling is going to be most commonly seen with mothers of addicts, but it could also be any other person. It could be the spouse, but it tends to be women more than men because women tend to take on the caregiver role just naturally. That's part of our role just in life. So we slip into that a little easier and we can get lost and overextend and misunderstand, which turns to enabling. And moms get a little bit defensive. So that adds to all of it. If I'm already pissing you off, well, good, but keep listening because I got more for you to be angry about. When we feel as though we're being placed in a position that requires some sort of enabling, we will justify it to ourselves. I had to, I didn't want to, but I resent the fact that I did ... We sometimes can feel backed into a corner, like there are no other options, and that is the most logical or best scenario for the situation. If your kid is in jail, you don't want them withdrawing off of substances in county lockup. You're going to bail them out. You don't want them to be uncomfortable and miserable, or you're thinking about the rough and tough people that are in there. It might hurt your child. You had no option. What kind of parent would you be if you let your kid sit in jail? We make excuses. Well, okay, I get it. Not good enough for me, though. And that shouldn't be good enough of a justification for you either. But that's how we can perceive it and internalize it, where we just don't have any other choice. And that makes it a little bit difficult. What we know is enabling occurs in a pattern, and usually there's a system around it that supports the enabling. So if mother, father, and then say their kid has an addiction, the mother would be more likely to enable, and the father might be more likely to turn away from it, disassociate from it, maybe try to speak to the wife in private, but the wife is going to insist on it, and he's going to eventually just turn outward and ignore it. The system is set up so that he ignores, the father ignores, the mother continues to enable, and then the addict continues to benefit off of the enabling. So their addiction can continue to thrive. There has to be elements of a system for this to take place. The enabling itself has to be supported. Addiction creates immense instability, chaos, dysfunction just on its own. And we might try to implement enabling as a way to gain control back or stabilize the situation just slightly, if at all possible. This could look like paying their bills, bailing them out of jail, paying legal fees, getting them a lawyer. But it can also look like covering for them. Maybe that includes lying. It's also managing their emotions, trying to mitigate them, maybe even walking on eggshells, feeling like you have to be very delicate around them because if not, you'll set them off. And it could also look like absorbing conflict, just taking it, allowing yourself to be in unsafe positions or situations and allowing it to go on. That's the biggest thing I want us to think about, because enabling is more than just money or paying bills. It's also absorbing types of consequence or repercussions that otherwise that person should be taking responsibility for, but we aren't. We're absorbing it ourselves. Eventually, over time, with repetition, this type of behavior and these systems, they become normalized. And we start revolving our lives around our loved ones. Anytime there's a crisis, anytime there's chaos, something's happening, we respond and make our addicts the central point of our entire existence. Everything else is either second or third or fourth. Our main focus is our addict and trying to pacify them in some context. What happens with that is we begin to lose ourselves within them, their darkness, their problems. I call it pixelating. We pixelate into them and we just disappear. And because it feels so gradual and we feel righteous in what we're doing, it can get extremely out of control before we realize we've gone too far. We've taken things to the extreme. it turns into this exchange almost where we enable, we think we're good, we think we're helping. They calm down or the issue gets resolved for now. We feel relief. And then it just cycles right back through. Another situation, you help, they calm down, you feel better about yourself. There's no progress in that. And this is why I have to say this very plainly, and I have to say this so that you get pissed off at me. Recovery is impossible. Impossible if we are enabling them. It will never happen. All we're doing is pacifying or breadcrumbing them. That addiction will thrive the more we enable. It will expand. It'll get bigger and bolder and worse and worse. And hopefully not, but the more addiction progresses, the more high the probability is that it'll be fatal. It's just a matter of time and a little bit of luck. Eventually, time and luck run out. This cycle of enabling, the more we participate and the more extreme that participation is, the less likely our addicts are going to get help because there's no reason to. You're going to feel resentful. You're going to feel like this is necessary. You might feel trapped. You're going to feel that righteousness where you're going to think you feel better about yourself by doing this. And this happened with my sister Jenna and her father. We have different fathers. He knew she was shooting heroin in his house. He knew it for many, many years and allowed it to continue. There was actually another heroin user in the house too. Atrocious, ridiculous, and an alcoholic. He had a long-term relationship with an alcoholic. It's a horrible environment. He refused to have his house be any other way but that. He was selfish. He was self-centered in his actions. He was only thinking about himself, but outwardly claiming he was the better person for not altering the environment in the house. That's where that righteousness comes in. They kind of think that they're better than everyone else, or they're the most helpful person. Look at everything I do. Look, I lie for them. I give them money. I give them cars. I give them shelter. I get them lawyers. What do you do? That's their perspective of it. It doesn't get anywhere. What happens? They stay addicted. As long as we're in that environment where our addiction can be there, it's welcome there, and we have all our needs met and we get all kinds of resources, what's the motivation for change? You're over here feeling righteous about yourself, thinking you're better than everyone else. Meanwhile, you're creating this environment that does not facilitate change. This environment actually tells you, remain addicted. Keep using. No need to change. No need to better yourself. Keep being right here. That's part of why I am a little passionate about this subject, is because I saw it with my sister, and I saw the attitude of her father, thinking he was better than everyone else. Meanwhile, he was the one who was orchestrating this environment that helped my sister stay addicted. That's what he was doing. but telling himself he's the better person in the situation. He's the best. That's where we get very twisted, and I'm thinking of a word, but I'm not going to say it out loud. We get very twisted thoughts, and we try to present to the world this certain caricature, but it's very far from the truth. When we rescue, this is only a temporary feeling of power, and that feeds into it. We believe we're powerful against addiction, against behaviors, against other people who are refusing to enable. We believe we have power in the moment. It's a facade, it's completely fake, and it's very, very temporary. More temporary than those little kid tattoos that you stick on your arm. When we try to stop enabling or pull away from that, there's going to be this period of feeling powerless, because enabling gave you this false sense of control and power. And we like that. Even if it's temporary, it offers some kind of satisfaction to us, the loved ones. However, because it's a farce, but you don't actualize that in your head, when we try to change these behaviors, we feel out of control and we feel powerless. And that might cause us to spiral. To be fully transparent, managing or trying to manage another person's life, their existence, their behaviors and choices, that's not empowerment. You aren't in control. That scenario only works temporarily under certain contexts and under certain conditions. You have to be under my thumb in that scenario. In the meantime, guess what happens to your life? You're going to lose it, babes. Your entire existence gets wrapped up into them. Your whole identity is being an enabler, a rescuer, a problem solver. Your whole identity is doing everything that the addiction wants you to do. Meanwhile, you're feeling righteous and powerful. It's very twisted and complicated. How does this damage our relationships? Well, first of all, we have to understand when we're disempowering our addicts, because that's what we're doing. When we enable, we're thinking we're powerful. We're taking the tiny bit of power, autonomy, personal responsibility from our addicts. We're treating them like children and infants. They feel that. They feel the disempowerment that we are putting onto them. That's the first thing. And there's going to be a lot of animosity about that. Both ways, too. The enabler is going to be a little resentful that they're investing so much in the addict. And the addict is going to feel as though they're resentful because you're trying to micromanage my life. You're trying to track my GPS location. You're trying to control everything that I do. We're going to have this kind of barrier on both sides. They're going to feel this, they call it, what is that? Infantilized? And of that, they're going to feel like you're treating them like a child. We're also teaching them not to have responsibility for themselves or their actions. They never have to face it because you're there. You're going to teach them that they're not having to face consequences. They don't need to, because there you are, coming to the rescue. More than that, it's going to teach them to stay stuck in shame. And as we know, that guilt and shame kind of loop in the head, that's one of the driving factors of the addiction cycle, and also a driving factor for relapse. Say our addicts are in recovery, if we are treating them in these ways, we are also directing them toward a relapse. And for us, in this relationship, we're going to start losing respect for ourselves and for our addicts. Maybe if you're on your righteous high horse, you're going to start losing respect for the people around who are not engaging in enabling. You're going to feel superior. You're going to feel resentful. And you're not going to be looking at your addict as a person who's capable, because we're removing that from them. So we're going to treat them like the child. A true relationship is not functioning in this scenario. I know we think that if we're physically in proximity, we have a relationship. We don't. First of all, you can't even have a relationship with an addict. You really can't. Their sole relationship is with their addiction. But when they do start getting clean, if they do, they're still going to remember how you treated them, how you made them feel more than anything. And if you made them feel like a child who was micromanaged, you disempowered them, they're going to have resentment towards you even when they're on their journey of sobriety. And because of that, this enabling behavior has long-term impacts on our relationships. It has to be equality in our relationships. Well, yes, that's not possible with an addict who's active. The more we overextend into their side, the worse things are going to get and they're going to be. We're doing this partly because we remember who they used to be before their addiction, or we understand their potential. We see something in them, and we know deep down addiction is dangerous and fatal, and we're afraid of losing them. And this just translates in a dysfunctional and unhealthy manner via enabling. How can we move ourselves away from enabling? The first thing is we're going to want to have emotional tolerance. You're going to have to sit in the discomfort of not jumping in, of not giving resources. That's the first thing. And it's going to feel torturous. You're going to feel as though you're the worst person in the world and you're doing the opposite of what you should be doing. You're going to think enabling is helpful and moving away from that is harmful. But that's not true, but that's how it's going to feel. The more comfortable we can be in that discomfort, the emotional experience of moving away from enabling, the better we can be. Sometimes it'll be easier than other times because addicts are very manipulative and they will use a variety of tactics to make you feel like shit. but having that tolerance is going to be an asset. And how do you do that? Same way you build a muscle. You have to put yourself through the pain and discomfort to then get to the strength. We're going to have to sit and be upset or cry or do something else while we're in those feelings so that we can build our strength. We also want to make sure our communication is clear. I care about you. I love you. I don't want you to be sick. I don't want you to be hungry. I don't want you walking in the dead of winter. However, I no longer am able to participate in this. I'm no longer able to provide you with transportation, money, food. You fill in the blank. We want to have that clear communication for us, yes, but also to set the ground rules for our addicts. Now, trust and believe they're going to come back around. Might be in 10, 20 minutes. Might be in a week or a month or a year. They're going to spin back around and try to get you to abandon that little rule that you just implemented. And that's when we're going to make sure that our tolerance is going to withstand that. However, making sure we communicate that things are changing from here on in. This is what I'm unwilling to do. And allow them to react however they're going to. Most of the time, they're going to flail. They'll throw a tantrum over it. They might threaten you. They could physically harm you. Make sure we're safe. But communication is important. We're going to also allow for consequence. I don't know why, as it pertains to addicts, people refuse to allow addicts to face consequence. Any other context, most people would allow for consequence and believe that it's good. You were speeding, got the ticket. You stole something from the store, got caught. Whatever the other contexts are. We like consequence. We know it's important. You teach your children consequences to their actions. If you talk back to your mother, guess what happens? If you hit your sibling, guess what happens? But when it comes to an addict, why are we trying to take away their consequence? This gets me fired up. It makes no sense. Yes, we're looking at them as ill, in a weakened state, attempting to protect them. Why do they not need consequences? It's atrocious, and we're going to stop doing that bullshit right now. Whatever comes about from their choices, that's what they're going to eat. Make your bed, you sleep in it. Guess what? If you got caught buying drugs, see you later. Hope the system works that out for you. If you're using substance in my house, see you later. Good luck sleeping under the bridge. If you're choosing to buy drugs over food, sorry, now you're hungry. Too bad. You had your choice. They have to be feeling consequences to their actions. This is the key, the literal key to them turning their life around, to them coming to their own conclusion in their own time that they don't want this life anymore and they're ready to get sober. Consequences are the keys. And yet here we are, the loved ones, snatching those keys, hiding them, putting them in the landfill, doing everything we can to prevent our addicts from accessing these keys. I know you love them. You don't want them to feel pain. Who wants their loved ones to feel pain? The same way we teach our children consequences, the same way your job teaches you consequence. Be late 3 times and you lose your job. Sorry. We teach people what's acceptable and what is not acceptable via consequence of action. They get the communication, they get a warning, and then they get their consequence. We must be conducting ourselves in this manner as it pertains to allowing consequence. When we try to mitigate that, we're being selfish. You are caring all about yourself and caring nothing about your addict. You're doing that because you don't want to be uncomfortable. You don't like it when they're suffering. You don't think they should face that consequence. You're being selfish and making this entire thing about you. If we want our addicts to have any chance in getting sober and changing their lives, stop hiding the damn keys. Hand over those keys of consequence and allow the addict to take responsibility for their actions and to suffer the consequence of their actions. It is literally the only way to change. We know that in every other place in the world, every other dynamic, we understand that. We're going to also start understanding that with our addicts. We're going to stop being selfish and self-centered. Not self-centered, but we're going to stop being selfish. We're going to stop making it about ourselves. And we're going to allow the natural occurrence of consequence. They're not going to listen to your lecture. They're not going to listen to your script of how many ways they have hurt you and why it's time for them to change. They don't give a damn. But you know what's going to be something that they have to listen to? There's no other option for them to listen to. The consequences. I've said this before. Consequence is also amazing for people in recovery because especially the first 1.5 to 2 years, they're most susceptible to a relapse. One of the things they can use as an asset is a recollection of consequence. Last time I relapsed, lost my house, my wife, my kids, my job, my car, and I was living on the street and I was starving. Those were all the consequences that they faced. If I do it again, it's going to be like that or worse. It's one of the many wonderful assets they can use to keep themselves in alignment when they start having thoughts that first 1.5, 2 years. Another reason why they need consequence, they need to categorize that or catalog that in their heads for the future usage. The more you try to rip that away, the more you're telling them to stay an addict. That's the message. Continue being an addict. Don't ever get help. The next one. Let's see. What is the next one? We want to give ourselves the space to grieve our fantasy. This version of them you used to know, how your relationship used to be, what you hope for in the future, how you envision their sobriety journey. All of these things are our fantasies in our heads. We need to give ourselves a little space so that we can grieve that. We can realize that this isn't the person I used to know. This isn't working out the way I thought it would. This strategy isn't working. It's getting me nowhere. You have to give ourselves the time to grieve, which is natural and normal. We also are going to put some attention onto our self identity, our personal identity. If our existence is wrapped up in being an enabler, that's how we identify. Who am I if I'm not out here rescuing my addict? What's my purpose in life if I'm not looking over their shoulder, tracking their location? It's a great way to ignore yourself and ignore your life. We get pulled into being an enabler, and it is progressive, so we lose sense of self and we become this enabler. That's going to be difficult to walk away from because we're wrapped into it so tightly. However, what's going to be an asset is starting to rebuild this identity. If my whole day doesn't revolve around them, what happens in my day? If I'm not checking their location every 3 minutes during the day, what would I be filling my time with instead? What are my hobbies if it's not inserting myself in my addict's life? We want to start rebuilding our identity so that we can start separating ourselves from our addicts and separating from this identity of being an enabler. Some things that we're going to bump up against is this thought that stopping enabling is selfish. Because how dare you put attention on yourself in this moment? How dare you go pick up a hobby while your addict is suffering or hasn't been heard from in days? The addict is choosing their lifestyle. They're choosing not to get sober. They're choosing substance over food. They're choosing to do these things. If anyone in the world is able to get sober, we have to realize continued behavior as an addict itself, choosing to stay in that lifestyle, is something that they're opting in for. They can get help at any point, but they're choosing not to. You choosing to take up a hobby or to move away from enabling has no correlation to them and their choices and their behaviors. If you say, hey, Amanda, I'm going to go for a jog. I've started jogging. Okay, go on. And while you're out jogging, whatever I'm choosing to do while you're jogging, it's not connected to you. If I choose to scroll on my phone, if I choose to read a book, if I choose to take a nap, nothing of that has anything to do with you. For some reason, we get so caught up in our addicts, we think everything is about us. We continue to make it about us. It's not. Whatever you do is separate from them. Because I'm sure you know whatever they're choosing is separate from you. We might also think that they will spiral if we stop enabling them. This is scary. The thought of our loved ones spiraling, overdosing, dying. It's petrifying. Yes. I'm going to bring us back to what we were just saying. It's not connected to you. Everyone makes their own choices. If they spiral, that's on them. You could never stop them from going on a binge anyways. Because I'm sure you've tried. Track their phone, call them nonstop. Whatever other strategies you got going on, you can't stop them. Another one is bumping into this thought of, I don't know who I am anymore. Very common, especially after we've overextended to any extent into our addicts' lives. We're going to feel a little lost, confused, and as though we don't have any purpose or we have lost sight of any kind of purpose. That goes into creating this self-identity. We have to make sure we're caring for ourselves and we have our own things going on. You could also bump up against this thought that people will judge you. And they will. What did I say? People judge you whether you do it or you don't. So just do it. Something like that. No matter what you do, people are going to judge. And I think this gets particularly icky because most of that judgment is going to come from the people closest to us. Our family, our friends, things of that nature. They might pressure us to continue to enable. They might say things about us because we don't, or we've pulled away from that. That was definitely my experience where I pixelated into Jenna so hard that I was empty. There was nothing going on inside of me. My whole day, all of my thoughts, all of my energy was on Jenna. I didn't even feel like I existed. I thought I was this external extension of her. Some kind of power bank for her. And it put me in a very dark place where I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating normal. I felt almost like I was delirious a lot of the day. Part of that was because I wasn't sleeping, but another part was this disassociation from my body. Sometimes I would feel like I was floating above me or watching myself like a movie. It was really strange. And I was dark and lost. I had overextended so much that I had disappeared. And when I made the decision to step back, to reclaim my life, my body, my mind, when I made the choice to do that, I communicated it effectively. And I let everyone know that's what I was doing, including Jenna. And I got a lot of pushback. I was expecting pushback from Jenna. She was, oh my God, she was fuming. I did it via email, but she was fuming. Very aggressive, very violent tendency type of expression. And I also got a lot of flack from our mother. Our mother tried to make me bad because I wanted to reclaim my life. I don't know why I have to sacrifice my life, but our mother wanted me to sacrifice that, and I chose not to. She tried to make me feel like an asshole. And it wasn't just one time she tried to do that. She did it many times. And she even did it at my sister's funeral. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. She wanted me to be the bad guy for whatever reason. Maybe it made her feel better. Maybe she thought I was going to resolve it and I was choosing not to. Even though I tried, I got zero result. Having that pushback and that continuous pushback from our mother, especially at my sister's funeral, it was very difficult to swallow. I'm a strong person. I'm resilient. I've been through a lot. I can disassociate from people and not absorb things that people say. My mother desensitized me very early. That was her thing. She loved to get into your head and make you feel like you're a piece of shit. But even though she had trained me to withstand awful words, I still felt atrocious that I was now being the bad guy. Even though I had sacrificed my life for Jenna, I had changed everything about my life to come help her. Even though I did everything I possibly could, I was still the jerk. I was still the bad guy, and it still wasn't enough. I learned that it's never enough, and everyone is scared. Everyone is petrified of the ultimate thing happening. Because of that, people within the family or within your close network of your addict are going to try to pressure you or make you the asshole for moving away from enabling or moving away from being overextended. They're doing that for their own reasons, their own fears, maybe their normal strategies, like my mother. But it didn't matter because when I was overextended into Jenna, I made no difference. I made no ground with her. Nothing changed. It didn't matter what I did, how I did it, how much I thought about my plan next, or what I sacrificed. It didn't matter. She still was an addict. And then when I pulled myself back, it also didn't matter. She was still an addict. Her father was enabling her the entire time, and it was never going to matter how much I participated or didn't participate. And I strongly believe that the reason Jenna never got help, she never took sobriety seriously, she never gave herself a chance at life, is because she was enabled by her father. That's another reason why I'm kind of passionate about this topic is I don't want you to lose your addict because you're refusing to stop enabling. That's ultimately what happens. Because I don't want that to happen. I'm going to shout from the rooftop to stop fucking enabling. And I'm not going to let up on it. We're going to keep having these conversations about it. And I'm going to keep bringing awareness around it. Because that's one of the factors that can turn your loved one's life around. If they're open and willing to it. It's scary. It makes you sick to the stomach just thinking about that. And I hate that you're going through this. I think it's bullshit that you have to suffer so much, that you're constantly on edge, that you worry about your loved one's life all fucking day long, wondering if this is the phone call. It's atrocious that you're in this position. But we're in it, right? We're here. What can we do that's effective, that's actually supportive of sobriety, of elevating and changing our lives? It's going to be moving away from enabling. And you know what sucks is even if you pull away from this enabling, if someone else in the family is enabling, it's very hard to get to them, to convince them that they're in the wrong. I could never convince my sister's father that he was doing the wrong thing. Never. It didn't matter what you said, how you said it, what you tried. Maybe you're trying to like backdoor strategy to get him to stop. Didn't fucking matter. He would not abandon it. And I think it's mostly because enabling is very selfish, and we're not making it really about the addict. We're making it about ourselves. And when you're asking someone to stop enabling, it's asking them to face their fears, to sit in discomfort, to change their strategy, to admit they're wrong, to admit they're not getting results. And that can be challenging. That's very challenging. Loving someone does not mean enabling them. Stepping back from that does not mean you stopped loving them, or you're no longer helpful, no longer interested in them or their future, their health. Doesn't mean that. Stepping back from enabling means that you know this is not getting results. You know this is facilitating addiction. You know this is detrimental, and you're no longer going to be participating in activities like that. That's what it actually says. I know better, so I'm going to do better. That's what we need. We absolutely need to start knowing better and start doing better. We have to face whatever icky stuff we have going on that's being dumped onto our addicts. It's not about being cold or dismissive or abandoning anyone. It's getting very clear on what your actions are saying, or what the results of your actions are. It's about understanding what you can control, what you can't control. And when we stop enabling, pull away from it, we're empowering ourselves to ensure that we're taking care of ourselves. But it's also empowering our addicts to take responsibility for their lives, their choices, and take responsibility for whether or not they are going to choose to get sober. That's, for me, that's the most loving thing you can do, is empower someone that you care for. Empower them to choose what they're going to do with their life and their future. Because when we start dictating and inserting ourselves, that's fear. That's not love. We're muddying the waters with that. This ends right here, right now. We are going to stop protecting addiction. We are going to stop feeding addiction. We're going to stop giving addiction a nice, safe place to lay its head at night. We are going to stop encouraging addiction to expand and grow. We're going to stop making it about ourselves. What's more, gotcha. That's all I have for you today. Stop enabling. And we are going to see you on the next episode next Thursday. Thank you for being here. I love seeing you and spending time with you. We'll see each other next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.